Rodgers lets it fly, has Watson, he's got it on his feet and he's in for the touchdown!
That might be the biggest catch of this young receiver's career. Christian Watson, you can see him, it's just press man. They talk about his speed, his ability to get behind the defense. It's just a matter of can he catch it. That's a great job tracking the ball. He just took a big sigh of relief. Look at his buddies greeting him on the sideline, man. That's got to feel good.
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. And you can find us on Twitter at Packers_access. You can tell I've done several of these streams today, right? You can email us at PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com, and you can text the show at 865-658-5824. Jacob, man, it's been a day. We're trying to pump out some extra content for the guys and gals, and I've been breaking down film. I've been looking back at the documentary / podcast of play callers. Man, it's been a wild one today. How's your day been, buddy?
It's been good. I've been up since 4 a.m., went to work. But what's nice about my job is I get to listen to as much podcast as I want while I'm working. So, yeah, I cranked out. I got to episode 4 of Play Callers, and it's amazing. I only wish that I could find is there a video version? Because it sounds like it was made for video. Just all the splicing and all that kind of stuff. It just I could sit there and I would binge that thing and watch it for hours. But that being said, I'm good. Is there a video portion or not?
I don't know, man. I feel the same way. If there is one, I don't know about it. But as I'm watching, I'm sitting there going, this feels like an NFL Films documentary. Like there's got to be a video version to it somewhere. There has to be. I know that you can subscribe to The Athletic for like less than $1 a month and you get full access to it. Maybe there's a video there. I don't know. You would think if there was a video, it would be on Spotify though. And that's what I'm streaming it on. And it's just audio. So I'm with you. I get the same vibe though. It's excellent. And for those of you hanging out here in the chat, watching live on YouTube and Twitter, I'm going to be going live later with Dusty Evely. And we're going to be talking about that very podcast series. And I'm just like Jacob said, man, it's hard not to binge it. Jacob, I've got a guilty confession here, bro. I've listened to it now all the way through 3 times, and I'm ready to listen to it again. Like there's so many things you pick up on, and it set me at ease and kind of confirmed what I've been feeling the last couple of years is this Shanahan type offense is growing and evolving every single day, every single year. It's constantly these guys are maneuvering to get a little bit of an edge and to hear about how the quarters Fangio system really became popular was simply because of controlling explosive plays. I won't get into all that. We're going to get into it later, but man, it's good. It's a heck of a listen. But what we're going to do here on this pod, guys, this is the Christian Watson episode. So just like the title says, we're going to just kind of look back on 2022, and we've seen a really cool article that came across through Packer Report. And Jacob, who wrote that article, man? Remind me again who that was.
That's Dara Carragher.
Dara Carragher.
Dara.
Yeah.
Love how you made me do that.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. Yeah. That way, if it's screwed up, I can blame you, right? Hey, listen, I had it wrote down as David because before we go live, I'm like, Jacob, I'm glad you're here, bro. You caught that. I just glanced through and was like, okay, I want to give whoever wrote it credit and already screwed the name up. But just kind of real quick before we get into some of the exact numbers and this and that, what was your general takeaway from that article as you read it?
Yeah, and then just to be sure, it's from the Packer Report. Dara wrote that from the Packer Report. I don't know if I said that. I want to make sure we get that shout out in there. What really made me, I've known that Christian Watson's a great player, an amazing player, especially through a fantasy football lens. We went through some of those numbers, especially when he turned on around week 8 or week 10, whenever it was. But what I didn't really realize when you dive into the numbers of this, which again, you can get into some of the more specifics, but just how much of an explosive player he is, really at all aspects of the field, other than the fact that maybe he hasn't even really taken advantage of those short passes yet, hasn't really gotten it's not a big part of his overall percentage of the routes that he's ran and where he's had success. And to think about that he hasn't really even unlocked any of those really easy dump offs, the short intermediate passes, and that's pretty cool to think about, that a lot of his stuff is deep threats, crossers, a lot of that deeper vertical stuff on those route trees. But one thing that I did want to talk about quick, I know that you were going to bring up some stats, but this one specifically, it talks about how the hitch route isn't known for being a route that you see a lot of receivers typically have a lot of yak in, or yards after catch. For anybody that didn't know that, I'm sure you did. But last season, the receivers gained a mere average of 2.6 yards after catch on hitch routes. It was the lowest of any route in the route tree. But Christian Watson, he garnished an impressive 6.8 yards per carry on the hitch routes. That was second most in the entire league, second to only Rondale Moore, which that's kind of cool to think about. Those aren't types of receivers, you know what I mean? So for him to be that elusive and shifty and be able to make that much out of nothing on those little hitch routes, pretty cool.
Yeah. I wouldn't have even thought about that without the article. And then you obviously reminded me that it was in there. You just don't think of that with him, but he is a physical football player. Last year, I think we would all agree, he kind of looks skinny, right? He looks a little slim, and you're a little worried, okay, is he going to be able to hold up? But when you see him with the football in his hands and even blocking, he's physical. If they put a little muscle on him enough to not really slow down that top end speed and that quickness, I mean, this dude could be a force, man. I mean, he really can. I'm excited to see what he does in year 2. And the big takeaway for me with the Dara Carragher article there with Packer Report is 282 routes. That's how many he ran, right? 79 go routes, which was 32% of his routes that he ran. 32% of the 282 routes, which equals 79 routes, were go routes, right? If you added in, and Dara does a great job explaining this, if you added in the post and the corner routes, which is basically the 3 primary routes on the route tree that are considered quote unquote vertical routes. If you added those 2 in with the go route, the post and the corner, then basically 50% of his routes were go routes. Okay. So half of the routes he ran last year were basically that deep third and vertical top routes. And sometimes when you see, I've seen some people, not saying that Dara did it, probably didn't, probably knows more about football than me, I'm sure. But sometimes you see people say corner route and it's actually a non-fade, right? And basically a go route with a little fade action. Sometimes there's so many choice routes that go into the game today. It's unbelievable. People like to look at Kansas City and go, man, they're following their scheme, they're following their system, and that system's awesome, blah, blah, blah. BS. If you watch what they do, it is choice route central. It's simply, if they're not double teaming Travis Kelce, then he's running a choice route, and Pat Mahomes is looking to get the ball to Travis Kelce. It is the same exact thing that we did in Green Bay with Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers. So how did they win the Super Bowl? They're built a little bit different, right? And their special teams didn't completely drop the ball. But we're getting past that, Jacob. We're getting past that. The other thing that stood out, Jacob, was the average depth of targets for Christian
Can I say
Watson.
something real quick about that last part?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just because you brushed past it, and I think maybe this doesn't do him service. So when you talked about that 32% of the 282 total routes being go routes, his 32%, the average reference for the league-wide receiver was 24%. And then when you combine the 3 together, when you talk about Watson having that 50% of his total routes, the average league receiver is 36%. So he is far and away way more explosive than pretty much any of the receiver, any average of any receiver. So he's up there with the best of the best.
Absolutely. And that goes hand in hand with this next stat that Dara talked about. Average depth of target was 32.9 yards for Christian Watson. Okay. Now, what's the league average? Glad you asked. 25.9. So we threw the ball deeper than any other team in football last year. Think about that. Now, he goes on in the article to mention, well, of course, you've got Aaron Rodgers, who's got one of the best deep balls in the game, right? Now, when you look at Jordan Love, what is he known for? He's known for arm strength and accuracy deep. That was something that he in college, he would miss on short and intermediate passes occasionally, but almost always he was on point, on target with deep passes. So it's something to think about. Again, average depth of target, 32.9 yards to Christian Watson, and the league average is 25.9. So that boy, he ain't catching the ball 20, 25 yards and taking it for 6. That ball is in the air. I'm talking about in the air when he's going downfield and catching it. He had a league best 71% contested targets on go balls. Think about that, Jacob. League best 71% of the time on contested go balls. He brung them down. And to the best of my knowledge, that was the best in the entire National Football League. And you could
Yeah.
see it, man, over and over and over. Another thing was his second most run route was the crosser route. He ran 40 crossers, which accounted for 16% of his routes ran. And according to Dara Carragher, he was fourth best on crossers, fourth most efficient on crossing routes in the entire league last year. So what you're seeing is a receiver who's going to stretch the field vertically and maximize his speed running crossers, right? So, what are the routes he didn't run a lot of? Outs, hitches, curls. But like you pointed out, Jacob, even on hitch routes, does a great job breaking tackles, right? So it's going to be interesting, man. Got a lot of tools to work with, And what I figured we would do is kind of go to some 2022 game tape. Now, I don't want to call this a Chalk Talk episode. It's going to be a little bit looser. When I do Chalk Talk, I typically do it by myself, and there's a lot more verbiage. But we're going to lay a little bit of foundation for each play. I want to get your take on it, Jacob, as we go through, and let's just kind of see how this thing unfolds as far as what happened in 2022. I'm going to go ahead and share the screen here, and you can see this, right, Jacob?
Yes, sir.
And like we did offline, if you want to maximize it so you can see a little better, for those of you listening on the pod, we're going to do the best we can to explain exactly what we're seeing on screen. And really the goal isn't so much to show the plays as it is for us to all come away and go, what are the commonalities? Where did he line up? What were they trying to do as far as conceptually? What were they trying to do as far as deploying him on the field? And how successful was he at those things? And what's crazy is I just took 6 plays. I had about 15 I could have used. I took 6 plays. The first 6 that would load into my Google Drive are the ones I chose. So these weren't cherry picked or anything. And when you look at it, it goes hand in hand with the information we just talked about on go routes and crossers. So let's start off right here. This was against the Patriots, Jacob. I remember this game well. I was up in Sleepy Hollow, New York, and you held the ship down for me for the post-game show. I remember calling in from one of the oldest pubs in the history of the country, and you guys were fired up over this win. I remember it. Do you remember this first touchdown, this jet sweep?
Yes, I do.
It was kind of the coming out party before the major coming out party, right? So let's kind of talk about what we see here. Packers going from left to right on the screen. They're in an 11A strong left bunch. Some people have nicknamed this. I've heard other people call this on websites bunch X nasty. Okay, it's kind of the and that's a perfect example of when you guys hear me say 11 ace strong left bunch. What I'm telling you there is it's 11 personnel, 1 running back, 1 tight end. It's an ace formation, which means it's a single back. Ace is 1 syllable as opposed to 2 being in the word single back. And then strong left bunch means the tight end is on the left side, and that's going to be the bunch side, which means there's going to be a cluster of 3 receivers, including the tight end, which means you've got a boundary X opposite side. So they're going to just real simple here, run a Z jet reverse. And what you're going to notice is the Patriots are showing 2 high man coverage. That's what they're showing out of the gate, but they're actually sugaring. It's actually cover 1 man. And I want you to watch as this unfolds. The ball is snapped. Of course, pre-snap motion. Bang, there's the jet reverse. And look at Romeo Doubs throwing a beautiful block right there, number 87. But Jacob, look at the 2 safeties up on the shelf. You see how they're shaded to the bunch side, right? And then watch, it looks like 2 high look, right? And as soon as the ball's snapped, this is what Belichick does. Right here, as soon as that motion takes off, as soon as Christian Watson takes off, what do you see the safety do? He slides over because he knows we know that's man coverage now. So they slide into their single high look, single high man. And the Packers, it was a perfect play call, perfect setup, right? You could go outside zone on the left side, but they got the edge established pretty well there, right? So what are you going to do? You're going to run this jet reverse, and then, of course, the edge defender on the bottom is lost. He doesn't know whether to crap or go blind, so what's he do? He closes one eye and farts. Look at him. He's lost.
It looks like the safety that was rotating out, he read it perfectly, but just Dobbs came down on that perfect block.
And that's exactly – you can see Dobbs. He's like going, okay, if I don't have anybody else here, I'm going to walk this corner out. But instead, he sees the safety come up and bang. Perfect. And it's lights out, man. There's your first – that was his first touchdown. Am I thinking right? That was his first touchdown of the year?
God, you want to say that's true? Was that week 3?
Oh, I can't remember.
No.
I can't remember. Regardless, This is the one I remember as the first, just simply because it was like, all right, we're getting Christian Watson on an end around. And there you see it again. You see the safety a little bit better here. Watch the rotation. Safety rolls down. He's like, oh, crap. He knows it's either going to be a quick swing pass to Christian or it's going to be a reverse. And by this time, he knows, okay, he's got the ball. It's a foot race. But look at Dobbs. Bang.
I like, too, if you go back to the front of the snap of the play, Dobbs sells the run still until it's time to throw that block, so that if you watch that, the cornerback actually gets out of his shoes. When he makes his break, he's stumbling backwards.
Right there. He gives him a little outside jab, right?
Yep.
And he's got to and why does he have to stay at home right there? Why does he got to protect that? Because he knows he doesn't have any help over the top. If they go 9 fade right there and kind of go to the corner of the end zone, he's got to protect deep. So that's why he stumbles there. Dobbs picks up the block. That's a pretty play right there, dude.
That's
exciting. And this wasn't even mentioned in the article we just talked about. Again, this is just simply using that speed around the end. Great scheme call. And again, I got to keep saying it. I want people to understand what I'm talking about. This was not an Aaron Rodgers offense. This is Matt LaFleur's offense. This is what I'm talking about right here. So, again, that was 11A strong left bunch. Bunch X Nasty is the nickname. Just a little Z-Jet reverse. So there you seen Christian Watson playing the Z. Anything you want to talk about before we move on to the next one, Jacob?
No, like I said, I just thought that was a super – when you think about the fact that Dobbs is a very raw rookie at this point, and he's wise enough to, like I said, sell the fake, crack down and make the block, set up the whole touchdown for our other rookie. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, no, he seems like a very selfless player. When Dobbs made mistakes or he fell short of maybe what the mark should have been his rookie year, it had nothing to do with not wanting to do the right thing or not having what's the word I'm looking for? Not taking responsibility and wanting to succeed. There's nothing about his game that I looked up at Romeo Dobbs and said that was lazy. Not 1 second of game footage. If he made mistakes, he made them because he's a raw rookie. It wasn't because he was loafing or afraid to get physical or any of that. I thought the kid impressed. I want to see him take a step, though. Again, to me, he played way better than his draft position. That's the way I look at Romeo Dobbs. Some people are already talking about him being a legit number 2 wide receiver. I got to pump the brakes on that. To me, it seems like he graded out in the 3 to 4 range. But if he takes that step into number 2 and Christian Watson establishes himself as the number 1 this year, and you add in Jaden Reed with all that speed who could play X, he can play Z, he can play slot, he can play in a backfield, whatever, then now we're cooking for gas. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be Luke Musgrave, too. There's many of these plays, Jacob, that I've looked at, dude, and I go, where Christian's lined up right now, if we put him where Lazard was and put Musgrave where Christian was with similar speed, and when I say similar speed, I'm talking about on the field speed, 20-mile-an-hour speed. Guys, they were clocked in the same ballpark as far as miles per hour on the field through next-gen stats. Okay, so don't kid yourself into thinking that Christian Watson is just 10 times faster than Luke Musgrave. On the field with pads, it's a lot closer than that 40-yard dash would kind of lead you to believe. But if you were to do that with Luke Musgrave, now you're showing 12 personnel in a situation like just now where it would have been 11 personnel. I'm not suggesting you get Luke Musgrave on the reverse. I'm simply saying in any of those spots where you see Allen Lazard or Randall Cobb, if you replace them with Luke Musgrave, that now becomes 12 personnel, which may trigger the base package for the defense until Luke Musgrave proves he can play at this level and that speed is elite. That would then force defenses to go into their nickel or their what we call big nickel, where they may replace a linebacker with a safety as opposed to a corner. So these are the little things that matter. What's that?
No, I was just going to say, just for reference, that last play was week 10. I'm sorry, week 4. This upcoming play will be week 10 against Dallas.
Gotcha. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. So this situation here, this was the Packers came out. It's a 3rd and 1. They came out in 11A strong left bunch. There you hear it again, bunch X nasty. It's a 3rd and 1 play, and they're going to run a strike concept. I'm not going to go into the details of what a strike concept is. You guys, most of you probably know. It's not even important. Again, we just want to kind of marry this this film study up to Dara Carragher's article and talking about the goes and the crossers. Okay, so here we go on this play. Again, this is against the Cowboys. It's going to be a strike concept. It's going to be a play action go route to Watson. So I want you to look at the bottom of the screen. Watson is lined up as the X. Okay, he's down here, right here. Okay, and what you see, I want you to look at the down and distance, 3rd and 1. Look at the box, Jacob. See how the box is absolutely loaded?
Yep.
Now, What's crazy is the Dallas Cowboys defensive coordinator. Gosh, his name is slipping my mind right now. Dan, what's his name? I can't remember it right
I know
now.
what you're talking about.
Yeah, he was in Atlanta for a while. I've got so many names in my mind. I've been breaking down all the whole coaching tree.
Dan Quinn, right? Not Dan Quinn.
Dan Quinn. Yeah, that's it. Dan Quinn, right? So understand, he was the defensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks when they created that cover 3 buzz with the Legion of Boom. Well, he goes over to Atlanta. He takes that cover 3 there, and it flops. And later on, when I talk to Dusty, we'll explain why, because the wide zone took off in the league, and it really put that cover 3, that Legion of Boom type defense, it put it out of business for right now. Not saying it won't come back. And that's what kind of triggered a wide 9 quarters look. Okay, so Dan Campbell, Dan Quinn, when he was in Atlanta, ran that cover 3, and he lost his job pretty quick, especially after his offensive staff with Kyle Shanahan, Matt LaFleur, all those guys left town for their promotions in other cities. Now, with Dan Quinn, when he went to Dallas last year, he switched up to a man coverage. This is what we're talking about, how many people would say, okay, Dan Quinn's in Dallas, they're running Seattle's Legion of Boom defense. Wrong, because the league constantly changes. It constantly evolves. The same way that McVay evolved into 11 personnel, offense, and Kyle Shanahan stuck with a 21 look after Atlanta. He didn't have a 21 look in Atlanta very much because he had all those receivers. These coaches want to put their best players on the field and put them in a position to do what it is they do well. But anyway, Dan Campbell playing a lot of man coverage. You see it right here. That 3rd and 1 situation, they got the box loaded up. They're showing a single high look. They got one safety on the shelf. What Aaron's reading right here is man coverage. So you see he's going to sell the play fake. Again, this is a play action play. I'm going to just call it play action go to Watson. Okay, we won't worry about the other aspects of this play. But you see he sells the play fake. Look at this. Jacob, he knows exactly where he's going with the football as soon as he turns around. It's like, all right, you want to play single high? He's got Lazard kind of coming across on a little crosser in the middle. Lazard's whole goal here is just simply to hold that safety in the middle of the field, and that's what happened. And then you see Christian Watson. Look at that speed, dude. And then the bend outside. That's a perfect freaking ball, too. These are the things we're talking about with Jordan Love. If Jordan Love can throw that ball, Jacob, the sky's the freaking limit for the Packers. And Christian just absolutely torching him. This is the best part right here, though, man, is watching against this loaded box. Again, he's playing X. Single high bunch side, the play action holds the safety, and then you just use speed. That safety has got to respect that play action. But look at Watson right here. A little whoop. It'd be real easy. You could see so many times in the past a young receiver would just get into that streak. He would give it away, they'd flip the hips, and they'd run stride for stride. Even with his speed, he knows, you know what, right here, I'm just going to give him a little wiggle. And then watch, he gets inside. But why does Aaron throw to the outside shoulder? Because he knows it's a single high look. He knows that safety's in the middle. If he leads him on into the middle right here, that safety's going to pop him, right? Mm-hmm. But instead, what happens? He fades him outside, protects his receiver, beautiful pass. Jacob, right here, this is the look you want. Look at this guy swimming right here.
And I love that if you notice, Watson, he purposely seems to shield and position his body perfectly so that the dude just can't even make a play on the ball. He knows that if he almost baits him, that he has that leverage where he then at the last minute sticks that hand out, and there's just no way the DB can make a play. He just, like you said, falls on his face and gets posterized.
That's something I didn't even think about until you mentioned it too. Look at the laid hands.
Right. It's like he literally intentionally was baiting him to do that inside fall move and then just plucked it, kind of like Devontae had those laid hands.
Yep.
This is gonna be. I'm on a level now where, like you said, you almost. It's like a kid at Christmas when it's the night before and you're like, this is too much. I'm gonna have a heart attack. Like, just please, please. You know, that's how I am. I don't even want to get into it. We're like week and a half away of.
Yeah, bro. I'm going to try to sneak people in over there and just film practice so I can get my football fixed, dude.
That's what I'm saying. We're going to start. Can we pay Herman or something, or start paying Ramage? Pay Ramage and some beer.
Write that off. We're willing to write that off on our taxes. I don't know if he is though. So we have
I can picture we paying Ramage to sneak in there like a ninja, like Beverly Hills Ninja with Chris Farley, just for some reason.
Oh my god, dude.
It's a classic.
Let's go, dude. So what you seen on that play was what we talked about with the go routes. 32% of his routes, 79 total. of 282 routes, 32% of them were go routes. That's what you've seen right there. So you're seeing what Dara was talking about in the article. All right, let's move on to the next play. This is a 4th and 7 play. And this is against Dallas. This is a part of that big comeback, right? And what they're going to come out here in is an 11-gun, strong left nub bunch. Some people just call this bunch nub, okay? Anytime you hear the term nub is a tight end by himself on the line of scrimmage opposite the bunch, the trips, the tray, whatever the look is. So when you look at this, you'll hear people say the nub tight end, right? They're referring to this right here. This tight end on the bottom, okay? And we're going from right to left here this time. The bunch is at the top of the screen. And basically what you have here is, like I said, with the 4th and 7 play, there's going to be a little switch action here. Anytime you have a switch concept, it just simply means that players are crossing over each other very close to the line of scrimmage and basically trying to confuse the DBs. That's what makes the bunch so hard to defend. You know, Jacob, the same way that offensive coordinators have certain situations when it comes to down and distance. Like you've got your 1st and 10 play chart, right? You've got your 2nd and long play chart. You've got your 2nd and medium, your 2nd and short, your 3rd and long, your 3rd and medium, your 3rd and short. You got specific plays to attack those down and distances. On defense, defensive coordinators have certain packages and certain plays designed to stop bunch, to stop, you name the offensive formation, they've got it kind of labeled in a similar manner. If they come out and bunch, then their players on defense know, okay, here's the way we're going to attack it. And then as soon as they break out of the huddle, the mic is typically still on for 15 seconds. You may even hear the D coordinator tell them which play to go to, but they've got to have someone, a veteran on the defensive side of the ball, that whether they're wearing the green dot or not on the helmet, meaning they've got the comm system to the defensive coordinator, they got to know, here's what we're doing when they show bunch, okay? That's why bunch has become so popular in the National Football League. But again, 11-gun, strong left nub, bunch. Some people call it bunch nub. 4th and 7 play. Game's on the line, man. You're down by 14 points. It's in the 4th quarter. This was just an excellent comeback. If you guys want to put yourself in a good mood, go watch the Dallas game last year. That's what I do. Anytime I'm depressed, I put on the Dallas game. But what you're going to see here is a switch Z cross, out and up, X dig, crosser, climb. Now, what we're going to talk about is single high man once again. So you can see the Packers were effective against single high man. Where they struggled is when they had 2 people on the shelf, 2 safeties on the shelf. But right here, you see the single high man. And as we roll it, this is all Watson right here. But I really want you to focus on the crosser. If you guys look, like I said, he's going to be the Z. Okay, so he's going to be the Z receiver at the top. And basically, this can get very convoluted as to who the Z, who the X is. The way I always understood it, and there's different principles in different offenses. Basically, the X receiver is the receiver that's on the line of scrimmage opposite the tight end. Okay, so when you look up top here, this will be your X, right? Christian Watson would be your Z, and your slot would be right here. But you'll see the switch concept. We're going to roll it through on the broadcast tape first, and then we'll go behind the scenes here, behind the line of scrimmage. But you can see them switch. See how they all cross, Jacob? Mm-hmm. That's what you call a switch concept, okay? And you see Christian take off, and I'm telling you, it's a beauty. First of all, Aaron Rodgers does a great job kind of resetting the pocket there, finding space to throw that ball. Again, there's nothing there that I don't think Jordan Love can do. I see that throw, and I think, okay, Jordan Love can do that. He's got the pocket awareness to be able to step up right there and fire that ball. And you can see as it's converted here, man, perfect pass. Dude never had a shot because of the speed of Christian Watson. Now, here's the view from behind. I want you to look at this switch. Tell me how you're going to defend this right here, Jacob. Watch this release.
That's
Is that
quick,
not
man.
wild, man?
That's such good timing. It's,
Now, right here with Christian Watson, this cross or climb, some people call it a climb, some people call it a crosser, okay? Again, Dara in the article referred to it as a crosser, which, like we said, he ran 40 crossers, 16% of his routes. He was 4th best on crossers. This is one of them you can bet your butt it counted as a success in that percentage of being 4th best on crossers. But watch Christian here. A young player that might not understand the game at the level that Christian does would just take this and turn it into a crosser. He'd go right here to, and just cross his face and try to outrun him, right? Watch what he does, Jacob. He goes the high side. This poor DB, look at him chasing himself, man. Like he's going up. And look at the speed. Just running away. Beautiful ball, right on the 9. Safety didn't have a shot. That single high safety didn't have a shot. That's how you attack single high man, is you've got good route runners with good athleticism, and you beat them to the punch on that single high. Look at the single high. And you see him there, Jacob, how he kind of shifts right? See the safety in the back?
Yep. He's way late on that.
Yep. And the reason being, let me roll this over real quick before I get lost on this play. All right. The reason being, I'll show you in just a second. But again, that's a beautiful pass by Aaron, right on the money, touchdown. Why do you think that safety did that? I want you to key in on something that I said early in this play, the out and up. I said switch Z cross, out and up, X dig. The X receiver is going to run a dig route, right? He's going to try to walk him out. Now, I want you to look at the slot here. The slot right here, I think it might be Randall Cobb. I can't remember who it was exactly. Is it Torre? Okay.
Yep.
He's going to run a little out and up, okay? Watch him on this play, right? So he's going kind of out and then wheel it off. He turned it into a wheel route. Aaron could have went there, right? But what's Aaron reading? Going back to this tape, watch that single high safety come into the picture. He bites on the out and up, and that leaves Christian. That's all the space Christian Watson needs to make that play. That's what we're talking about and why it's important for receivers to run their route and run it efficiently. And it's why you see veteran quarterbacks like Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning, all these guys, as they get older, they get so frustrated when people don't run the route crisp or precise, because it affects everything. If Samori Toure looks at that and goes, oh, I can't beat him on that out and up, I'm just going to run a sit route, that safety doesn't bite to the sideline. Maybe he cheats a half a step to his right, our left, and he makes a play on Christian Watson there, right? Yep. It's the little things about the game. Again, he was playing Z in that position, or on that play, and he ran a crosser. Anything stand out to you there, Jacob, on that we didn't cover?
No, I mean, it's like almost watching a freaking poetry, man. Just watching the way that those three receivers get off the ball at the same time. You know, I will say, as much as I won't really miss Lazard, you can see why maybe he was on the field, because of just how precise I'm sure that LaFleur needed that offense to run. And it's encouraging to see that they had Torre out there wasn't that a 4th and 7, you said? So like a very important situation. They trust him in that bunch formation to get off the line. And like I said, just watch that. It's like, it's really pretty. Yeah. It looks like deer, you know what I mean? Like how when I don't know if you guys deer hunt or whatever, like if you ever make a noise, boom, they can like just snap in unison. It's crazy.
Absolutely. And, as you look at it here, back to the sideline cam, you see that Robert Tonyan is just going to throw a little chip block and he's going to leak out, right?
Yep.
I want you to imagine that being DeGuara or Robert Kraft, okay? Robert Kraft, listen to me.
I can imagine Robert Kraft.
Could you imagine Robert Kraft's drunk old self out there trying to throw a chip block? Oh, my God. I love it. So imagine that being DeGuara or Tucker Kraft there playing tight end. And you're probably going, well, why not Luke Musgrave? Because I want you to imagine Luke Musgrave playing Lazard's position right here.
Right.
Dude, imagine him being a little bit taller, a little bit faster, quite a bit younger, and more physical at the line of scrimmage if you decide to can to a running game or to a run play there. They would have to make a decision. Are we treating number 88 like a receiver, or are we going to treat him like a tight end? Those are the things that defenses are going to have to take into consideration. Now, again, we got to curb the enthusiasm, me speaking to myself when it comes to Luke Musgrave, right? Tight ends very rarely make a huge impact their first year, but the ones who do have been some of the best. Your Kittles, your Kelseys, people like that. And people will say, oh, there ain't no chance that Luke Musgrave could be at that level. I hate to break it to you, but both those guys, if I remember correctly, were drafted later than Luke Musgrave. But What were you going to say, Jacob?
No, I'm just imagining, like you said, if Musgrave is in that Lazard position, and then obviously Watson's where he is, and then Torre is either, I don't know, Reed, Dobbs, or even Torre. And imagine what that safety, that single high safety is thinking as he sees Musgrave there with Watson there, with either Reed or Dobbs there. I mean, the amount of poo that's going in that dude's pants trying to figure out. And it's the second that he watches, because like you talked about, Musgrave hit 21 miles an hour. Like that's not Lazard, but he's taller and bigger than Lazard. So imagine having that safety's mentality where he's like, I have to watch that guy. I have to bite on what he's doing. That's even a bigger gap for Watson to drive a truck through. So I'm just excited.
Absolutely. Dude. Yeah, dude, it's exciting, man. All right, this next play, I'm not even going to read off what everything was supposed to be, because this was literally called at the play, called on the field right here by Aaron Rodgers. He didn't wait on a play call. He didn't go, okay, we're going to huddle up. What he sees right here, Jacob, this looks like me going for another brownie in the kitchen, bro. Right here. Look at these two big boys trying to get off the field, right? And these are the things that if Jordan Love, studying under Aaron Rodgers for 3 years, if he can pick up on these things and we don't miss a beat in this regard, would be absolutely huge. But again, let's talk about what this is. Again, we're not going to tell you what the play is. It's just a quick no huddle 50-50 ball. Aaron wants to catch them off sides, too many men on the field, bang, the snaps off. And now it's just a free play, right? So you see everybody. What are you doing on a free play, Jacob? Look at these receivers. They're gone. They're all going to the end zone, right? So Aaron does a good job buying a little bit of time. But let's go back to Dara Carragher's article, right? What did he say? League best 71% of contested targets were on go balls, right? And that was a league best for contested go balls. They converted, I think they said 71% of them.
What's 5 out of 7, I think.
It's a contested ball for Christian Watson, dude. I'm going to add this. Actually, I don't have to add it in on the fly because they're going to show a replay. I was going to zoom in for you. But you see right here, and you notice the laundry right here, right? See the laundry on the field? Not only did they catch them with too many men on the field, but they also got defensive pass interference. They cheated twice and still lost, right? Look at that grab. Now watch this right here as we switch the camera. So right here, he's going to run out of room quick. He looks, the ball isn't on its way. Yeah, that was for the play before, for earlier. Like I said, I think he ends up throwing his hat. One of the officials threw their hat because of this right here. You see the pass interference, right? Because the ball's in the air. But watch Christian. He's thinking, okay, I'm going to run out of room now. He hasn't thrown it yet. Let me give a little jab back in.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and now watch, just enough separation. The awareness to keep your feet in bounds too, right? And then look at this fighting.
Jesus.
And he didn't even jump. That's that huge frame, bro. Unbelievable. So again, like Carragher said, league best 71% contested targets on go balls. So you see that on the tape in 2020. Anything you want to say there, Jacob, before we move on?
No, I mean, like you said, for those that are on the podcast, you can't see. He somehow makes a leaping grab, but you can't really call it leaping because the defender's actually grabbing him and holding his body down. So basically all he does is kind of extend through it, and he doesn't get a real hop. So if he really had a chance to jump that ball, it would have been right in almost his chest area. But the fact that he can just, like you said, he's so long, he's so athletic that he kind of just fell backwards and sprung at the last second with a little bit of momentum, and he's able to hit it right in the hands and pull it down. It's impressive.
Definitely. And if we were going to try to label a position that he was playing right here, he was definitely playing boundary X, in my opinion. He's playing X. It's a little bit tighter look, but it's definitely X. The tight end's on the right side of the field, it looks like. And
do you call it a spread formation? Just kind of a lazy spread formation?
Yeah, it's base. And what's crazy, look at Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones, though, they're going to snap this quick. I ain't even got to get 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage. I'm just going to get right in Aaron's hip pocket and throw a block. A little protection. And again, Aaron just directing traffic. Again, man, the first time that Jordan Love does that and confirms that he can, I'm going to be so freaking giddy, dude. I can't wait to see it. So, all right, let's move on to the next one. Can you see the timer right now on our screen, Jay? You probably can't.
We got 38 minutes.
We're 38 minutes in?
Yep.
All right, good deal. We're going to wrap up quick here. We got 2 more plays. All right, this one right here. This came in the third quarter. It was a second goal situation against the Titans. We're losing big time, 20-9. Only 2 minutes left, 2 minutes and 9 seconds left. We come out in an 11A strong left bunch. You're hearing that bunch more and more often, right? It's a second goal from the 8. You're going to see a double fake, and it's a double fake from both the T and the slot. What do I mean by that? They're going to fake a revert. They're going to fake to the T, which is the halfback. They're also going to fake to the reverse as well. Okay, so they're going to do a fake there out of the slot, and it's basically going to be an X cross slot swing T leak. Okay, so let's kind of look at it here as it unfolds. You'll see this is Matt LaFleur's offense again. This was not Aaron Rodgers' Mike McCarthy offense. Watch this. Look at all of that. Watch the linebackers, Jacob. They are lost, dude. They don't know what the heck to do. And what they're playing here, to the best of my knowledge, it looks like a quarters coverage. So basically how it's going to unfold is you've got this guy covering a quarter of the field deep, this guy covering a quarter of the field deep, this guy covering a quarter of the field deep, and this guy covering a quarter of the field deep. And you've got 3 underneath that's going to be kind of protecting underneath. And they're going to play quarters, but they're kind of playing the goal line here as well. This is a Mike Vrabel special. So again, you're going to see the fake to the running back, the fake to the reverse, and look at Aaron nail it in there on the crosser to Christian Watson. All right, now this is where it gets fun, man. This is where it gets really, really fun. This is all Watson, right? Both the left quarter, okay, the quarter deep dude on the far left, and the hook zone bite on the play action. So I think I've got it marked here in a second. So you've got Christian Watson in the X there. He's going to run a climb or a crosser, right? Now look right here as I mark it. As we go in, you see this guy right here where the X is at, Jacob?
Yep.
That linebacker, watch him bite like crazy. And also keep an eye on this guy, but really watch on this linebacker as this fake starts. Watch him. Left. Oh, crap, right. Oh, crap, left. And again, the way that Mike Vrabel drew this up, what he's expecting right here is this guy to be playing this deep quarter and this guy to be playing right in here. So this should be covered, but it's all that eye candy pre-snap or post-snap, really, with the fake reverse to Cobby, and then, of course, the fake handoff to the running back. Again, that linebacker lost, and then there's Christian Watson with the grab. That's another one of those crossers that Carragher was talking about. Good ball. That's a throw right there in a clean pocket, right? You see Aaron Rodgers step up. This isn't a deep throw. He's throwing this from roughly the 15-yard line, so this is a 20-yard pass. There's no reason that Jordan Love can't throw that ball. No reason at all. So, again, Matt LaFleur's offense, this eye candy, that's what it's all about right there, man. Beautiful play. What do you think, Jacob?
I mean, like you said, I just really, when you look back at it, a lot of these people that are saying how Christian Watson, you don't know what he's going to be and he could be a bust and all this, it's like, look at this tape, man. I mean, he's doing techniques and making, like you said, veteran style chips and just little subtleties, and he just seems like he's from where we thought I'll admit, week one when I called him out I'll still admit, like, if he catches that ball, it's a different game. It may be a different season, but for people that immediately threw him under the bus, like that's insane. And that week 11 Titans game there was week 11. That was right when he started rolling, when people started being like, oh, wow, look at this guy. That was in the beginning of when he went on that 6 to 8 touchdown streak in 3 or 4 games or whatever it was. So and they kind of at that point knew who to key on. It was a little midway through the season. We didn't really have that many superstars. They kind of knew that. So I'm so excited. I can't say it enough. Let's get this going.
Same here, man. Same here. We got Emilio in the hopper. Emilio, if you'll just hang tight, we're going to do one more play and then we'll bring you in here, buddy. We appreciate you hopping on with us and calling in. Emilio, from what I understand, is about an hour and 20 minutes from where I'm at in Tennessee. We got these Packer fans in Tennessee coming out of the woodworks, and I love it, man. Last play here, Jacob. You can still see the screen, right?
Yep.
All right. This is going to be a 4th and 5. This is against the Eagles. We're down early. This is in the first quarter. Kind of a little bit of a gamble rather than trying to take that borderline. You're within field goal range. They're down 13-7, 4th and 5. And this is going to be an 11-gun empty Y left T boundary, empty base flex is what many people call this, empty base flex. Again, the T boundary simply means that us being in an 11 set, we've got a tight end in the play, one running back, one tight end. Here's your running back at the top. He's playing boundary. That's why the T boundary is in my play call, identifying that. And there's basically 2 concepts with this. You got slay and you got snag pick, okay? And for those of you, don't know those specific passing concepts, it's totally cool, but I want you to key in on what we call snag. Okay. And snag concept is basically an inside receiver running a vertical route and the outside receiver on his outside shoulder running a shallow cross or a shallow drag. Okay. Now the pick is added in because it's going to be a little pick play. I want you to key in on the top of the screen here. Okay. You're going to see basically Aaron Jones is going to run a drag, right? You're going to see Christian Watson stretch the field vertically with a skinny post. And then you're going to see this receiver here try to get a little pick play. It may have been Cobb. It may have been Torrey. I can't remember right off the bat. But that's what it's going to be, a slay snag pick is what I would call this. And it's going to be kind of a pick and sit. He's looking to pick on that play and be a safety valve to Aaron. Now, what they come out in, the defense is in a cover 2 zone. Okay, which basically means you got halves up top. You got 2 safeties up here. They're covering half the field deep. And then you've got 5 underneath zones down here. And what they're doing is they're playing the sticks on this 4th and 5. Those 5 underneath are trying to protect them from getting that first down. So the weak spot in the defense is the seam unless they play Tampa 2, which means this Mike would drop down the seam. So where's Christian Watson at? He's in the slot. He's right here, and he's going to run a skinny. Okay, let's watch him run this skinny post. Ball snapped. You see the pick play there up top, and trying to cut that off for Aaron Jones. And you'll see Aaron Rodgers go right down the seam to Christian Watson. Look at Christian protecting the football. Aaron protects him by throwing it behind him rather than trying to lead him into that hit. So a good throw by him. This is where it gets good on this other view. All right, what I want you to key in on, you're going to see an X right here, Jacob. That's the backer. The read right here, Cobby's going to go out and pick and sit. You've got Aaron Jones is going to be running a drag route, and Aaron's read is this guy right here, this backer. What he's going to determine is if he flips his hips and goes with Christian Watson, the play goes to Aaron Jones. But when we roll the tape here, he doesn't flip his hips. He stays underneath. We now know it's a cover 2 zone. Hammer that thing in there, protect your receiver, first down. That's a 4th down conversion right there. And again, a pretty ball by Aaron going across the middle. I know he never throws across the middle, but here it is. And beautiful conversion on 4th down there. What do you think about that one?
Yeah, man, I just love that timing too. And yeah, that's Cobb right up there. I'm just watching that pick and sit. So you're saying that if say that safety takes away Watson coming across the middle on the skinny, then he has the option to go back to Cobb, or would he probably pull it down and throw it to the Lazard coming around the opposite side?
That's a great question. If we get to this point right here and Aaron looks and that safety is just, hammered down on Christian Watson and that throw ain't there, you can't go to Aaron Jones here because this backer's waiting on him. Here's your backside play. See it right here? And that right there, I'm glad you said that. That's the Slay concept. If you watch, the Slay concept is basically that inside guy, which is the tight end. I think it might be Tunyon. He's going to run kind of that. With Slay, it's almost like you've got a quick out. It's not really an out. It's more of just kind of a shoot, like a running back shoot route. And then right here, I think with the official Slay concept, it's actually supposed to be a slant. But you can see as soon as they bump up right here and kind of close in, you're going to see Alan Lazard kind of round that off. So to answer your question, if the safety really bites down on Christian Watson, he knows the drag isn't there. He's going to Alan Lazard right there.
Yep.
But he had already, like we said, he had already made the decision. And the reason he made that decision was this linebacker, again, what he sees is the safety stay on the shelf, linebacker clamps down, Aaron's going to hammer that ball in there for a first down. So right there, what you seen was him playing the slot and running a skinny post, which is still technically a vertical route like Dara was talking about. So as we wrap that up, as we sum that up, I'm going to bring in Emilio. And Emilio, we'll go to you in just a second, but we appreciate you hopping on. Basically what you come away with in that 6-play saturation, you had one jet reverse, right? And when he played the Z, he ran 2 routes, 2 of those 6 plays. He ran routes out of the Z. He ran the jet, right? And he ran a crosser. When he played X, he ran a go route and he ran a crosser. And when he played slot, he ran a skinny post. And it matches up with all the numbers, everything percentage-wise. And we didn't try to do that. We just threw these together real quick. That's exactly what Dara Carragher was talking about in the article. I think we got a promising future for Christian Watson for sure. Now, let's see if we can hear Emilio. We got him on the line. Emilio, how you doing, buddy? Uh-oh, make sure you're not muted, pal. He may have stepped away, too. We waited way too long. Just keep it audio only, brother. See if you could talk there. All right, we'll try to go back to him here in a second. Emilio, you try to get the audio if you want to hop off and back on. And like I said, you don't have to worry about the camera. Just make sure the audio's on, and we'll see if it'll come through the next time. I'm going to go ahead and close this other window out so we ain't got to worry about that. In the chat, we got Zane hopped in here and said, "What's up, Clayton and Jacob? Back with another one. Go, Pack, go." Appreciate you hanging out with us, brother. And then also in the chat, we have got Chad Inc. He says, Watson does a great job of stacking the cornerback on that play. Absolutely. Now, I don't know which play you were talking about, but he changes the whole dynamic of the defense. That's for sure, man. When you got a guy with that kind of frame and that kind of speed, I mean, it's a game changer, dude. He's a freak. It's funny because his mom said that on the podcast. You know, when we had her on, we had Krista on. She said, I told him, look, you know what you can do. There's nobody else in the league that's built like you. There's nobody else in the league. You are a freak. Go do what you know you can do. And we'll see if Emilio can hop back on here in just a second. It may be connection issues. Let's see right here. All right, Emilio, let's see what you got, bro.
Can you hear me?
Got you, man. How you doing?
I'm good, fellas. How are you?
We're doing good, man. We're doing good. It's a little bit choppy, but I'm sure it's on my end, man.
No,
Appreciate
no,
you calling in, man.
we both got the holler over here, right? We're running the extension cords.
You got it, man. You got it. What's on your mind, dude? I know you're down there. You're down around Maryville, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Gotcha.
Lawn care landscaping, got the headphones in all the time, so I appreciate you both pumping out the content,
Absolutely, man. That's what really drew me to Ryan's podcast and his network, man, was because I'm always out there on the grind, always listening to podcasts, and the fact that he did one every day, man, it really it pulled me into his podcast for sure. What do you want to talk about today, Emilio? What are you thinking, dude? First of all, you may have seen some of that Christian Watson stuff. If not, what's on your mind?
Yeah, I was taking a peek at Christian Watson. I'm excited about what the future holds for him. Get him a couple other weapons. Take a little bit of pressure off his back because we were expecting a lot from him. Last year. So, I mean, I'm excited for that. I know you're going to dig into the play callers. Once you said that on that podcast earlier, I popped that in when I was mowing. Man, I listened to all 5 episodes and it just replayed again. And I just started digging in. I started jotting down notes, and I was just that one. I know you're going to get into it later, but the one about RG3 and all the coaches sat down with him and went through every single one of his college plays. I'm wondering if Matt LaFleur maybe dug into something like that with Jordan Love, and let's just take one or two of those, two of those that he just absolutely kills, and bring it into our offense. Kind of grow from there.
And what's crazy, we kind of had something built like that into this offense with Aaron Rodgers. And you're thinking, no, we didn't. He never ran a read option. Right. But what he had was the backside RPO. And that forces them to play a little more balance, which opens up the strong side wide zone. Right. But with Jordan Love, if we do drift away from the RPO a touch and they do throw in a backside read option away from the strong side of the formation, dude, he's got the wheels to run that read option. Now, he's not RG3 speed. I know you would agree with that. But what we have is that subtle quickness, and if you catch enough people out of position, it can be deadly. And what you said about RG3 and how they hammered that. First of all, Jacob, what they said on there was we were trying to learn his college offense, right? We're trying to learn about the read option, and then on top of that, we wanted to know how much he knew about protections, things like that. And then I love that they made him put a play in. And why they did it. It really goes hand in hand with all of these coaches from this coaching tree. Why, what did Matt LaFleur do with Aaron Rodgers? He sat down with Aaron Rodgers and they built an offense together. Yeah, Sean McVay in LA, he goes to the Super Bowl, gets his butt handed to him by Bill Belichick. They get rid of Goff. Why? Because he wanted Matthew Stafford. I remember the exact quote. He said, I wanted a partner at quarterback, not a pupil, because he wanted someone he could build an offense around. And that started all the way back with Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan did the same thing with RG3. And you remember, Emilio, what he said was, we wanted you to put that, why I had you put that play in? And he said, because I've ran it before. He said, no, because we knew you would own it. We knew you would make it work. And RG3 said, you're right. There ain't no way I was letting that play fail because that was my play, right? That's good stuff.
And that's how Kyle felt on every single play he puts into his playbook. So you can only imagine what Matt LaFleur's thinking, day in and day out when he's in that cubicle, cranking out our offense, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, dude, it's going to be really, really cool. And as much as we don't, we're drifting into the unknown when it comes to Jordan Love. Also, other defenses don't know what we're going to do, right? They don't know if we're going to add in a little read look. If they came out in some pistol, I would lose my mind because how they utilize the outside zone with that pistol formation, the way that came about, Jacob, I don't know if you heard that part, but Kyle Shanahan basically said, when I started studying up on the read option, I noticed that whichever side the running back was on, they started attacking the mesh point, meaning if you run a read option with a sidecar left, meaning the running back's on the left, they would just attack the left side and you could take away that read option, beat them to the punch, attack the mesh point. But what he said was, well, I'll put us in a pistol and they'll never be able to do that because it's a balanced look. That running back's directly behind the shotgun. So just good stuff. Man.
Can I tell you a quick funny story about that RG3 and the Washington team that year?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, I thought it was 2012 when he was that splashed on the scene and everybody was talking about RG3. They came to Lambeau to play us that year. Tony from the Packernet podcast, the fantasy podcast, me and him have been best friends for a long time. He used to work for a separate company that got great tickets, box suite tickets, Pepsi suite tickets, top of the top. That was right after they renovated Lambeau. So me and him, you know, we get all sauced up. We drive over there. We have our tickets. I make this sign that says RG, this big, massive sign, big black letters that says RG3 sits when he pees. And I'm so proud of this thing. And I'm walking around, you know, Lambeau, taking pictures with everybody, doing shots, of course, drinking and all. And I get separated from Tony, and I get security allows me to walk up there because he's got these like VIP, you know, massive tickets, and they get us together. And yeah, Tony runs out before I walk into the press suite box area, whatever. And he's like, no, put that thing away. And I'm like, why? It's a great sign. I spent so much time. He's like, RG3's father, mother, and wife are in the box sharing it with us. And I was like, oh, you're kidding me. He's like, you want to throw it away or should I? I'm like, I'll do it. And I, throw it away. Long story short, I ended up sitting there. His father was the nicest guy I've ever met in my whole life. His wife was super nice. We took a picture. I still have the picture. I look like I've got the dumbest look on my face with Tony and me and his wife and his father in this picture. And anyways, I became an RG3 fan after the day because his dad was so unbelievably nice. It was hard not to root for him. But
yeah, he's a legend, man. Anybody who talks about RG3's father, they talk about him like he's just a great guy. Really, the whole family. I like RG3 too. I really do. But yeah, good stuff. Emilio, you're down there just south of Knoxville. Are you a Vols fan?
Yeah. I mean, I haven't been to a game yet, but yeah, go Vols.
Got to root for them. All right, got you. Maybe we need to do that, man. I haven't been to Neyland Stadium since they played Notre Dame, and God, it was forever ago. It was in the early 2000s. So maybe we need to get together and go watch a UT game. I'm not a big UT fan, but I love that environment, that atmosphere, man. It's awesome down there.
Oh yeah, it's and when that field goal post went into the river, it went for a swim. So they don't mess around.
Oh, dude, Jacob, did you hear the story about that when they carried the post into the river from the Bama game?
Yeah, I lived in Nashville for 5 years, so that word got spread for quite a while about that one.
Well, when they carried it into the river, if I remember correctly, which game was it where they actually marked it on Google Maps? Did you hear about this, Emilio?
I'm not sure.
If you went to Google Maps, you could Google right there around, pull up the map, the satellite image right down there around Neyland, and they actually had a pin dropped in the river and said this is where the goalpost is.
If they lost it, they could find it there.
Oh, I love it, dude. I love it. You got anything else before we let you go, man? I appreciate you hopping on with us, dude.
No, man, I appreciate it. I'm just excited for what Matt LaFleur is going to bring. I know you're going to dig into it later on, but man, I'd be excited. Maybe a little full house, but keep Christian outside, bring the 2 tight ends in, maybe 2 running backs or something, kind of rotate. I'm excited for what's to come, man.
Hey, dude, break out the T formation, dude. Pull out all the stuff.
Yeah, let's get the power sweep back in there.
Yeah, let's remind everyone that we're finishing last in the NFC North this year. I don't want any of these people that were screaming it 2 months ago to be able to back off on it. No, you all said we're finishing last. We're playing with the house's money, baby. Let's go out there and have some fun.
Yeah.
So,
well, I got one more thing. When I go to get mulch, the lady that runs the mulch company, she's a Bears fan, and every time I go there, I bring it up to her, and I cannot wait for this season to start, man.
Oh my gosh, Week 1, you'll still be mowing, you'll still be picking up mulch, you'll be able to talk a little trash.
That's the truth.
Oh, I love it, dude. I love it. Bro, we appreciate you hopping on with us. We're going to let you go. We got Andy Monday hopping on here, dude. Anytime we go live, that link will be in the chat over there. You hop on and chat football with us, dude.
I appreciate it, fellas. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, man. Have a good night, buddy. All right, that was Emilio in Tennessee. Awesome dude, man. He's been messaging me and emailing with me forever. Great questions, great ideas, great comments, everything. That's what's so cool about this. Not just being a Packer fan, but being, more specifically being part of the Packernet Podcast Network, man. Everybody's just freaking awesome. It's like one big family. So let's bring in the crazy Uncle Andy here. This is Andy in Kansas. Andy, how you doing, bub?
Hi, I'm doing pretty well. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, how are things going out there in Kansas? You still stuck in Kansas?
Oh, yeah. I was stuck in New York City last early part of the week. We had gone out for an event out in Delaware and ended up getting our connector flight back to Kansas City. got messed up, so we had to spend an extra night in New York City. So I was able to listen to the Tony Mandarich interview, but I haven't gone to the one you guys are just talking about with the 5 coaches. I haven't gotten a chance to listen to that yet.
What was your quick takeaway? Just 1 or 2 minutes from the Tony Mandarich interview, because me doing the interview, it caught me off guard. I didn't know what we were going to talk about. I knew the direction I wanted to steer it in, and things got real quick, man. But what did you think about it? Because to me, he, like I said, he surprised me, man. It just, I was expecting it to be someone who was kind of cocky, someone who was arrogant, and kind of made all these bad decisions and blah blah blah. And then I got on talking to him. I'm like, this is not what I expected at all. This dude is so humble and just appreciative of kind of having that second chance at life. But what was your takeaway generally?
I've been thinking about it for the last few days. I've even been talking about it to a few of my boys. Just go listen to this because this really, the attitude really matters. I think that he made it, maybe not in the same words, but he was lying to himself during the first part of his career. So I think to people who haven't listened to it, they should listen to it, because if you only know that this guy was, a bust or a fake or however you want to call it, and he calls himself that, so I'm not dissing him more. Okay, if you think that that's it, you're also lying to yourself now. Two wrongs don't make a right. Okay. Absolutely. 3 lefts make a right, but that's another story. So yeah, 2 wrongs don't make a right there. And I think that's important to know, that we're never going to have Tony Mandarich, the football prospect, on our field. We're not going to have that ever again. So if you're holding out for Tony Mandarich to somehow undo his Mandarichness that we had in 1989 to 1992, get over that. And instead understand that we could have Tony Mandarich, the Packers fan, not only be part of the fandom, but I really enjoyed, and thank you very much for suggesting that he be part of the 2025 NFL draft. Who was it? Was it last year or the year before? Somebody made a speech before they read a draft pick. I can't remember who it was, and I don't even remember what the topic was, but he kind of gave like a personal speech type thing. Gosh, I'm forgetting the name. I just have a little image of this in my mind. Anyway, it's not like it hasn't been done before for someone to go on stage and before they read a pick. And that's what I think of. I think of him not just being around, but being a draft pick reader. I think that would be pretty cool, because he has a message for a lot of people, not just players, but a lot of fans, people in general who struggle with struggles, addiction, all that kind of stuff. When you have something big going on, like either having a chance to talk to a crowd or having a chance to revisit with longtime friends, I've basically come down to, when you talk with these people or this one individual, you should say your thank yous, tell your stories, and make your apologies. And if you have the opportunity to do all 3 of those things in one sitting, you are very honest. You're very honest in all 3 of those things. Okay? Tell your stories. Think, getting together with college, high school friends or whatever. Tell your stories, make your thank yous. Say thank you about things that you never did before, because you probably were not mature enough to realize you should have been thankful.
Yeah.
And then make your apologies, because you're to the point in your life where forgiveness is something that's lacking in most people's lives. They want to sweep things under the rug. No, that's immature. They want to, give people the opportunity to say, look, I could hold this against you, but I'm not going to. I'm going to free you from the guilt that is there. And I think listening to Tony's interview, and as much as people talk about forgiving yourself, there's something beyond that when somebody else does that forgiving. When I was listening to it, I was thinking of the biblical account of the prodigal son, which has 2 really important parts to that. Number one, when the son who ran off with all his riches because he wanted to do exactly what he wanted to do, squandered all of it in wild living. That's how the biblical account goes. He fed pigs, which was a huge insult to Jewish people, just being in that situation. And the account says, and when he came to his senses, he realized how bad situations were. That's the phrase they used. It wasn't just that he was out of money. It actually says when he came to his senses, which means there's something, a conscience in you that says, I can't be doing this anymore. And then therefore he goes back home, not to say, well, you have to accept me, I'm your son. He goes back and asks to be a servant in his household because he doesn't deserve anything better. And the second part of that is his father sees him from a far way off because he's been looking for him. This kid who left and squandered the money and wasted it, the father was looking for the son the whole time. And in many ways now, Packers fans can say, look, we can look for somebody who's out there who understands that he screwed up and say, come to the draft. It's not the same as the biblical come, but it breaks down, right? We're not God here, which is what that story is really about. But, we can say, hey, I would like to see a poll. If anybody can do a poll for this, I suppose I can, but who would you rather sit down and watch a game with? Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, or Tony Mandarich?
Oh, wow.
I don't think it's a competition right now. Really, I don't think too many people are going to want to. I don't think they want to buddy up with Brett Favre and just chat. I think people are kind of like, I don't know about that guy now. Yeah. But if you had your choice, like that would be interesting because I think you would hear honest things out of him because I'm not sure if you'd hear honest things out of the other two. I don't know.
Right. And, as you were talking about that, the first thing that came to mind, I heard a quote here recently, and it said, at some point in your life, you had the last conversation with someone and you didn't even realize it was going to be the last conversation. Man, that hit me hard. I was like, whoo, maybe I need to control that temper a little bit more. I think you hit the nail on the head, dude. That's the first thing that popped in my mind as you were talking about that. But, dude, we appreciate you hopping on. I'm glad to hear your feedback on the Tony Mandarich interview. It's, again, like Ryan kind of alluded to, it was totally unexpected how everything's turned out. But I've had so many people reach out to me and go, dude, thank you for that interview. I needed to hear that. I had no idea that was a story. Some people it's, hey, this has helped me personally. I've got a family member that's dealing with the same type of stuff. Maybe I need to be a little more compassionate with them. I know that definitely hits home with me because my family has been riddled with addiction for pretty much all my life. And like I told him on the pod, I lost my mother to overdose back in 2020. Yep. So as he's talking, it's hitting me, and I'm going, man, this was not expected, but here we are. I was thinking he's going to get on here and be like, man, I made some mistakes, but I was a hoss. I could block. I could, nah, it wasn't it at all. But we appreciate you kind of giving your take on it, man. And we're at the 1 hour and 7 minute mark. So we'll let you go. We appreciate you hopping on. I'll get kind of some parting thoughts from Jacob and we'll get out of this joint, but we appreciate you, Andy. Thank you so much for sharing, bub.
Yep. Thanks for doing the Watson breakdown. I'll have some thoughts about that some other time.
Awesome. Yeah. Sounds good, dude. We'll catch you next time for sure.
Thanks, guys.
Bye. All right. See you, buddy.
Thanks, Andy.
Again, that was Andy in Kansas. Love it, dude. Love our listeners. Love our fellow fans. But as we wrap this bear up, we went a little bit overboard, but that's okay, man. Anytime you're talking Christian Watson and the future of the Packers, and you get into some of that stuff about Tony Mandarich and everything, it's hard to hang up, man. Again, I gotta do another stream at 9:00 with Dusty, so and then I gotta go downstairs and try to save my marriage, like I always do, right? Because I've been up here all day. But Jacob, you got any parting thoughts, man? It can be on anything we talked about. It could be, like I said, Christian Watson, maybe some of the stuff that you've already heard with that Play Callers podcast. Or even Tony Mandarich. Anything you want to chat about before we get off here?
Man, I mean, like I said, I'm really excited for Christian Watson. I think that I go up and down with whether or not I think people are sleeping on him. I think that right now people are definitely sleeping on him. After watching that, after seeing what the complement of our new young receivers with the tight ends, if they're allowing that kind of production, I should say, out of an offense, I would argue last year that it really wasn't not that special. And if we really have some of those pieces that are plugging and playing, it's a completely different offense with an offensive line that I think can only get better. With Elton getting more healthy, with Myers getting more experience, I have to think that those guys are going to be taking in a little more responsibility on their shoulders, saying that we have a young quarterback, we need to protect him, we have to produce in the running game, we have to become a little bit more maulers type, and then we have these young receivers, and I feel like that we've I don't know if you've touched on it, but them being out in California, it was a big group of them, about 5, 6, 7 of them all together, getting that timing down, getting that camaraderie going, and that is so important. I mean, just really, really excited to see that. And then getting into that podcast, I don't want to even spoil it because I know you're going to be talking about it with Dusty, but I'm telling you, dude, it was cool just to hear stuff like from Robert Salah, how he's connected into that, how the wide nine came to be, going back into how just I thought Kyle Shanahan was just a silver spoon, you know what? And it's interesting to see that honestly sounds like the guy's more of a hard you know what than his dad was. Seems like he's a perfectionist to the point of where you had the Piss Boys. That's a funny little
God,
part of it. I'll let you. I don't have to get into it, but I'm only, like I said, starting into episode 4, and I find myself more interested into this. And I'm usually one of those guys where if it's not fully Packers stuff, I kind of float away. I turn off.
Yeah.
This I was way more interested in. Granted, it does pepper in Packers Matt LaFleur constantly, so you're kind of rooting for him, and you want to hear how his story evolves. I don't know. Do they end up getting to the Matt LaFleur a little more in depth later?
Not a whole lot with LaFleur. It just kind of.
Of course,
if I had to say, I would say he's a little more involved. Well, no, I would say he was the least involved of the 4 coaches, but that's okay though. You got plenty of sound bites from him, and really the story was kind of geared around, like everything is, the success and the failures in Washington that led to them going to their own different routes and everything, and then the success of McVay, which some people still like to bash McVay, but dude, that's the youngest head coach to ever win a Super Bowl, and he's been to 2 already. So
just the youngest head coach. They said he was 30 years old when he got. That's me 5 years ago. I was
easy, bro.
If you put me in charge of a football team at 30, and just imagine, like you said, being able to walk into a locker room and talk to a guy that you're younger than and get his respect. Like, I'm going to show you how to play football. It's like,
right. I love that voice too, man. You nailed that voice, by the way.
That's my Sean McVay. Yeah, classic Sean.
Dude, it's everything. Now, if you guys are going to listen to it, make sure there's no kids in the car because there's some colorful language.
I was surprised too. They've got like this it's like this weird, like this PBS kind of like, hey, they're breaking the formation. Then all of a sudden, like the announcer lady starts dropping F-bombs, S-bomb, and you're like, what just happened?
Yeah, and that's Kyle Shanahan. Cool. He's a madman, dude. And again, I kind of agree with you. Going in, my perception of him was kind of like that whole, well, you've been around with your dad was a head coach your whole life and blah, blah, blah. And then when you heard him kind of tell his story, or other people really tell his story of how he worked himself up and worked his way up the ranks and just how he's a psycho, dude. Like a psycho. And we're going to get off after this. The way that they said he drew on his whiteboard, the plays. And basically, if I understood correctly, and I may be misunderstanding it, but it sounds like he drew a play, and then he drew it, say, in black ink, right, or in black marker. And then in green marker, he would draw, okay, if they do this, then how do we beat this defense? This defense will shut this play down, right? So now in green, what route combination would beat this defense? And then, okay, well, this defense would shut down both of those. So now in red, he would draw the route combination that beats that defense. And that's like just that overlaying effect. I cannot tell you how much that connected with me. And it made me feel like, okay, I'm not that big of a dork. Other people are trying to think like this, right? Now, I will never be on the level of those guys. But that's kind of when you look at basically when the West Coast offense was created by Bill Walsh, you're attacking space, right? And they talk about this in the podcast. Well, okay, the name of the game is attacking space and defending space. And like Robert Saleh said, what he learned in, with the Legion of Boom and that cover 3 zone, you can't cover all the space. So what do? You move the space and you move the pressure and you try to catch them in vulnerable spots. It's just, I freaking love football, dude. That's all I know to say, man. It's got me. It's got me by the freaking soul. I love it, dude. Love it. So, Jacob, I appreciate you jumping on, dude. We went a little long, but it's always fun, man. Get on here and talk ball. It's hard to hang
11 days.
I really appreciate your time, man. What's that?
11 days.
My man. You want to say it? You want to say it or no? You want, or do you want to? What do you want? If you want to say it, take the floor. If not, we'll wrap this thing up.
No, man. I'm not doing it yet.
I got you, dude. All right. Whoo! I love it. All right, we're out of here, guys. Thank you all for hanging out in the chat. For those of you listening on the podcast, we appreciate you making us a part of your day. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world, and go Pack go.
For Jordan Love.
37. Here he is throwing in the middle. It's caught by Watson. He's got great speed. Turning the corner. Christian Watson down the sideline. And he will score. Whoa. Hang on. Love to Watson. To a one-score game.
This one is the stunner. You basically feel like, all right, this Eagles team sort of has this thing under control, and then Christian Watson hits the Jets again. 6 touchdowns now in the last 3 games. He is really something. When he gets in the open field and running, that was some throw by Jordan Love, too.